Happy Friday, another weekend on the horizon. I'm commemorating my 1 year. It's exactly 1 year to the day that my beautiful trip to Kauai was with my family. This is the Rich Report, bringing you the richest content across entertainment. My name is Cameron Richardson. Thanks for watching if you're on YouTube, and thanks for listening if you're on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Joining me today, as always, David Church, Johnny Crane. Gentlemen, how are you doing today?
Well, according to Cam today, it's sun's out, no guns out. So we're doing a good time. We're doing great. Don't know what is going on anymore. I think we've all lost our minds, especially Cameron, because I think he's just become the basket case at this point. But it's whatever. Johnny, how are you doing? Let's get to the real news. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing great. Now, look, Cameron, I love the vibe, but I get two other vibes when I see this little outfit you have. Either a high school football coach in the summer for summer practice, or someone that might have had a couple beers.
You know, why can't I just enjoy and reminisce on my time in Kauai last year, huh?
You look like Beach Day at High School Spirit Week.
You know, let's just make this the roast Cam session, huh? Why not just make me the Fruit Loop of the week, huh?
That's a good
idea.
Why
not that?
I'm not opposed. I'm not opposed to it.
You know what? I'm changing it. It's not gonna be Fruit Loop of the week anymore. I didn't think of this. Fruit Loop Fridays. Not Fruit Loops of the week. Fruit Loop Fridays, because then Wednesdays, David or whoever will have his wholesome Wednesdays. So yes, Fruit Loop Fridays.
We all need a good story.
Fruit Loop Fridays is the brand new name of this day's segment, and we got some good ones here, folks. We're gonna start with Johnny Crane, because me and David have a special Fruit Loop in mind for today. So Johnny, we'll start things off with you. Who is your Fruit Loop on this Friday?
Now, look, when you eat Fruit Loops, you know the different Fruit Loops in the box come in different sizes and everything. This is a small Fruit Loop, and this is not a Fruit Loop to roast somebody or so on. It's just funny. It's very humorous. Listen, Dr. Anthony Fauci, look, I know you don't want people to catch the coronavirus, but I think you're taking the non-catch thing a little too far. But considering that your first pitch, no one could have caught that either, okay? That's just – I don't want to get too political, but if Trump gets a better pitch than you, that might be a little bit problematic. Clean up your pitch, sir. That wind-up, oh, my gosh. You got to clean that up, sir. But thank you for what you're doing and everything, but, yeah, you got to – that delivery. Take it away, gentlemen.
Now, so my Fruit Loop of the week is Mr. Sean Clark. If you don't know who he is, then you should go check him out on Twitter, because in one of our, many group chats, because apparently we need to have at least 5 so we can make sure we all know what we're talking about when it comes to Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, text group, whatever. We probably have one for freaking Roomscape at this point now. So in the Instagram one, just so make sure people know which chat I'm talking about here, he says, "I'm sorry, but Mookie Betts is not a top 4 player in the MLB." Now, I am the Dodger hater first and foremost. I will be upfront and say that. But game recognizes game, and Mookie Betts is a top 4 player. And he made the argument that Bryce Harper might be better than him. I'm sorry, but let me hit you with a little bit of facts here, son. Times that Bryce Harper has struck out more than 100 times in a season, 6. And the times that he didn't, they were just shy, around 96 to 93. The times Mookie Betts has struck out over 100 times in a season, once. And apparently batting average is not a stat that we care about anymore, because OPS is more important. I don't care about that. Are you kidding me? Mookie Betts is a top 4 player. It sucks to see him in a Dodgers uniform, but he is so good. And not saying Bryce Harper isn't good, but Mookie's better. Let's be real. That literally is a lineup like we've never seen in MLB before. It is disgusting. It is creepy. And I hate that Cameron is a fan of them, because I'm going to hear it all year of how good they are, because we're in the same division and it's going to suck. But I'm going to have to get out of here with that. I'm going to have to deal with it. And I'm owning up to Mookie Betts is a top 4 player. So, Sean, like usual, you're wrong.
And yes, we love you, Sean, but you are also my Fruit Loop Friday, sir. Look, and I've never been a giant fan of Taylor Swift. I always found her quite corny, bunch of overbloated to hell instrumentals made it seem very, cinematic. It just wasn't really working for me. But then she took it with her new album that came out last night, Folklore, really was, you never really see artists be especially as big as Taylor Swift. I mean, arguably she's the biggest pop star in our lifetime, but she really took it back to really what feels like her roots. She's really in her element with this more mellow, more folky sound. And, this one thing I really take into account when I review music is, can I hear you sing? Is that the emphasis on the song more so than the instrumentals? And that's been one of my problems when I look at the big pop stars like Justin Bieber or an Ariana Grande or Taylor Swift. But throughout this entire hour-long record, it's really laid back, and you can really see that she really loves making music. This isn't, a cash grab. None of these songs are going to be chart toppers for sure, but that's not what you need to have it be a great song. Most of these songs are freaking great. Yeah, there's some duds, but you're going to get that when you have an album that's over an hour long, but most of it's great. But Sean, look, I love you, man. I respect your musical opinion, but I'm sorry, because you like more upbeat music does not give you the right to make fun of an album. Granted, this is why I don't explore, every single genre. You're not going to see me record do a review of a metal album because I just don't know enough about the genre. I don't know the difference between what's good and what's bad. I'd like some metal songs, but I'm not going to jump out and say, oh, well, this is bad because it just didn't work for me. That's not how I review music. I review it based on what I know, what I've learned, and then I make my assumption off of that. You're not going to see me go and review heavy metal, something within David and Johnny's realm. It's just not something I'm going to go out and do. And now if it's terrible, I mean, it's going to be terrible, but I just don't know the difference between what's good and what's bad in that genre. I don't want to, piss off an entire fan base because I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm not saying you don't know what you're talking about, but saying, oh, well, only upbeat music is good is probably not opinion worthy and not worth taking time to write about. Granted, you can write about whatever you want, but a 2.5 for this Taylor album, really? 2.5? Come on, man. You know better. You're smarter than that. Yep, there's our Fruit Loops. Dr. Anthony Fauci and our dear friend, Mr. Sean Clark, who will, in exactly a week from now, will be my roommate. I cannot wait. I'm excited. It's definitely a lot better than my last roommate.
Sean Clark's the first 2-time Fruit Loop winner, and
Yep.
It happened in the same episode. Can you believe that? What are the odds? Wow.
Madness, I say. Opening day was last night. We had a rain-shorn game where Garrett Cole and Max Scherzer were both awarded complete games for, 6 innings? Yankees walked out with the victory. Giancarlo Stanton, my God, just goes off. 450-foot bomb. But really, I mean, there wasn't much else to really take after that because it started raining. The Yankees, I believe, won 4-1, if I'm not mistaken. So, gentlemen, any thoughts coming out of this game, although it was only got 2/3 of the way in?
Get ready, boys, because the balls this year in 2020 are going to be more juice than a Tropicana bottle. They've literally, Rob Manfred has a terrible look to his name, so he's going to do everything he can. He's just going to keep putting that juice in those baseballs to literally make it so good that you have to watch it. And that's not discrediting Giancarlo Stanton. That dude has worked insanely hard to get to where he is at this point. He really took into the offseason where he decided to really train his body, lost some good weight, got a little bit leaner, got a little bit slimmer, and he got more powerful as well. He's healthy finally. It's been years since we've seen him do a full season without getting hurt. And now, even though it's a shortened 60-game season, he could play all 60 games unless they give him some time to rest, obviously. But no, that is that's a asset to him, how he can come back and look good, and it's a good start to his season, and he could be a monster this year. Look out for Stanton this year after what we saw from that last night's game.
Look, if the Yankees are healthy, their offense is unprecedented. They hit over 300 home runs last year, even though the fact that Giancarlo was hurt, Judge was hurt, Hicks was hurt, everybody was hurt at some point, and they still had a great offense. If they're healthy this year, even in a shortened season, oh boy, watch out.
So Kike Hernandez won the NL MVP last night. 5 RBIs and a home run to go along with a 4-for-5 day, I believe. Yes, 4-for-5. Really the only guy making a huge really impact last night, really contributing to most of the runs. Mookie Betts, though, when it was 1-1 with that nice slide at home plate, finally some Dodgers with some speed on the base paths finally can be able to be aggressive on the base path when really the only way they've been used to scoring is if someone's got to hit a double or it's got to be a home run. They can't really play the small ball route, but maybe with Mookie, you throw in Terrence Gore in some pinch run situations, and you get more insurance runs. But I mean, fun day overall. The Giants suck, so I'm sorry. There's just the Giants are just on another level of bad this year. They're like Royal Oriole bad. It's pretty funny. I'll take it because it's about time the Giants bottomed out. It's a beautiful thing to see. Dustin May was a little bit erratic, but I mean, he did enough to only allow 1 run. I'm not disappointed in the performance. He's definitely a guy that if he can keep doing bringing out these outings, he's definitely a guy that could be on that playoff roster come September 29th, because now we have a stupid expanded playoffs where over half the league. That's the thing. When you have over half the league in the playoffs, why not just draw straws? Just randomly select 16 teams to play it out. I mean, it's ridiculous. You could have a team theoretically go undefeated and they're out within 2 games. I mean, there's not even a chance. Let's say you drop that first game in a close pitchers duel, your backs are against the wall. The pressure's already on you, and it's not like home field is going to do much. It's just it's really dumb. I get you want money, but if you want a legitimate champion, if you want to award the best teams, this was the worst way to go about it. Fun, maybe, legitimate, big question marks, already more so than already had before the season began and with the normal format.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good game. I mean, it took the Dodgers, 7 innings to finally heat up and, get that offense that we were all, waiting to see. But then again, even when the offense came, it came from Kike Hernandez of all people. Like, Kike's got a good swing, he's got a good bat, but he's not batting 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 for a reason. He's more of a below under the radar kind of guy, but he can still have some pop in that bat. And it was surprising to see, he came out with 5 RBIs, and both Muncy, Betts, and Bellinger all went 1 for 4, and then in Betts' case he went 1 for 5. But it was surprising to see Hernandez just come out in the first game and just, I'm gonna go 4 for 5 tonight, and he did that. And the Giants, like, I talked about this in the preview article I did yesterday. They have a mix of either veteran and older players and young guys that are not on the radar when it comes to prospects and rankings. Johnny Cueto's about 34 years old. He doesn't have a lot of time left. So, I mean, and he's definitely not anymore an opening day starter. If he was Cincinnati Johnny Cueto, or even Kansas City Johnny Cueto, and Kansas City was still trying to make their World Series run, yeah, 100%, he's your guy to throw on the mound first game of the season, but not this year. And it's unfortunately the Giants weren't in a position to really go after any big name free agents, but they're going to have to stitch something together to be a little bit competitive. But even then, they're going to be bottom feeders for a while now until they can finally get these older guys off their roster and start investing into some young prospects to liven up their future at some point.
There are some things I know to expect. I know the San Francisco Giants are going to be subpar. I know that the Los Angeles Dodgers offense is going to be really good. I know the Dodgers starting pitching is going to be really good. What I don't fully know, though, is if the Dodgers bullpen can be effective as the season progresses. And it's only one game. And again, it's only the Giants we're talking about here. But the bullpen did not give up any runs yesterday. That's a good sign, gentlemen. Cameron, if your bullpen cannot give up a lot of runs, if you don't give Howie Kendrick a meatball to hit that goes to deep center field, you might have something there, Chief.
There's definitely depth to this bullpen. I like Adam Kolarek. He was solid last year. Brusdar Gradwell could be absolute just straight heat. I think he was hitting 100s last night. And then you have good old Kenley, who's always been, he's the fan favorite, but I need him to perform when it matters. He does well. He's sort of like, it's like a milder version of Kershaw, Kenley was one of the responsible people for us losing in 2017 when he gave up the game. Gave up possibly the one that changed it all in game 2 because the Dodgers would have been up 2-0 and then potentially 3-1 by game 5 come along. And that would have been a throwaway game. So, yeah, he's really got to show that he wants it because Jansen and Kershaw, especially after the Dodgers are all in on Mookie Betts as their future star, they got to provide if they want to be able to make it to another contract for the Dodgers.
Y'all should throw out Joe Kelly out there every time so he can keep breaking windows.
Absolutely.
I think that's the best course of action for you. Build around that guy.
The day-to-night transition at Kansas, it changes Kansas, man. The Cup race was at Kansas Speedway for NBC's one weeknight race of the year. They wanted one because Fox had like 4 of them. It was interesting. I wasn't totally blown away, but it definitely wasn't a bad 1.5 cookie cutter mile race. The first stage was pretty lackluster. The best of the best ran up front. There was no really surprise. William Byron was up front for a little bit, but that's because I believe he didn't take did he stay out for one stop and then didn't, and then I think he stayed out for one of the stops, but he couldn't make it on fuel regardless of what was going to happen. Did lead, which was impressive. He did come back and fight Brad Keselowski for the lead and actually led before a caution would come out. But overall, the top guys dominated. Denny Hamlin, his 5th win of the year. Harvick once again inside the top 10. Eric Almirola once again inside the top 10. Brad Keselowski, the main guys that you would see running up front, ran out front. The one thing, though, we got to talk about, it's crazy the amount of safety that's in these cars. You literally can do anything with them. Granted, we don't want these scary crashes, but Ryan Preece just smoking the wall. And granted, it wasn't a spin, so that's what really contributed. It's more so he turned left, and obviously the car's not going to slow down. There's really nothing you can do with how fast these cars are because grass makes it worse. You can't put gravel pit because that's going to make them flip over because they're going to stop like that. Man, that was really terrifying. It brings back, if y'all look it up, the Eric McClure wreck from Talladega in the Xfinity Series. I think it was in like 2011. Another crazy hit. Thank God Priest is okay. I've never seen a driver. I've never been so happy to see a driver get mad following a wreck. It was just good that he was fine and immediately got out of the car. And then there was Matt DiBenedetto, who, thank God, more drivers need to be vocal about this, but having no horsepower is still a major problem. The drivers don't like it, but then Steve O'Donnell wants to say, oh, well, we like what we're seeing. If the drivers are angry, your product is probably not good. So I'm going to kick it to Johnny. Johnny, you had full coverage of the race last night. What were your thoughts on it overall?
Well, like you said, it really wasn't that boring cookie-cutter race that you would normally see from a track like this. It was actually quite interesting. And I want to hit on the William Byron strategy because we're getting to that point of the season now where drivers on the playoff fringe, like Byron, like Johnson, and so on, they're not locked into the playoffs fully, and they need to start taking some risks to potentially get in the field. Even though the Byron move didn't really work out, he didn't win the race, he still got a top 10, which will help him in the point standings. And if you can do that risk and succeed with it a little more consistently, that might make him a little bit less of a fringe playoff contender. But when you talk about the Preece wreck, when you think of that wreck really wasn't his fault. Everything happened in front of him, and he was just caught up in it, unfortunately. And that's just sort of how it goes sometimes. Happened the same thing with Bubba Wallace as well. when you look at the race, I mean, those wrecks did bring the field back together, cautions, restarts, that did keep the field together. But again, at the end of the day, the top racers were at the top as expected. Denny Hamlin, even though he leads the field in wins now, I'm still going to take Kevin Harvick as the championship contender to beat at this point, just because he's been a little more consistent. And, again, he has another top 5 finish on the year. He has the most top 5 finishes among the field this year. So, I mean, overall, Denny Hamlin will be in the championship race. Harvick will be in the championship race. Eric Almirola, I know we mentioned it in the midseason award show that we did, but if Almirola can do this top 10 finishes at low downforce tracks that are coming up, if he can do that, he might also solidify himself as potentially a dark horse contender. We've seen him have 8 straight high downforce finishes in the top 10 because all the races have been in high downforce. If we can see him do that in low downforce and maybe pick up a win, maybe he makes himself a little bit more of a contender and a little bit more of a factor in the championship race. But overall, Denny Hamlin at the top, as sort of expected. But when you look at it, it's pretty much the Harvick and Hamlin race for the championship trophy.
Yeah, my thoughts aren't necessarily solely on the race. It's more of the fact that sports are coming back finally. Last night when I was on my computer, I was pulled up my YouTube TV. I had 4 links up on my browser. I had the NASCAR race, I had the Suns and Jazz scrimmage, I had the LA Dodgers and then the Giants playing, and then later I had the Lakers and Magic scrimmage game back in the Orlando bubble. It's just good to see competition. It's good to see sports coming back. As a guy who's a huge sports guy and a huge Arizona sports guy, I loved seeing D-Book back out there. I loved seeing him perform and loved seeing him just rain buckets on everybody. One of the most underrated guys in the NBA, in my opinion. And it feels good to actually, have something to watch. And any sense of normalcy is good at this point when we're in the situation of quarantines and pandemics. It's just, any sense of normalcy you can find, you better hold on to it because it feels great. And it's so good to see sports coming back, and I'm super excited for what else we're going to see later in the year.
Speaking of sports returning, the NHL is obviously on its way back with the Stanley Cup qualifiers on August 1st, but in a couple of years, in the fall of 2021, we will have the introduction of a Seattle franchise, the Seattle Kraken. Not my first choice for the mascot. I was going for the Emeralds, but I don't mind this at all. I like the logo. I love the color scheme. The color scheme is phenomenal. I love the secondary logo with what on the surface appears to be just an anchor, but looking closer, it's actually the Space Needle, a nice nod to the landmark destination, the landmark, tourist attraction of the city. I love Seattle specifically, so obviously if I had to pick, I'm not saying they're going to be my second team if I choose to go down that route, but if I was going to pick a second NHL team to cheer for, it would be the Seattle Kraken. Gentlemen, your thoughts on the introduction to the Seattle Kraken?
I'm not as big as a hockey guy as you guys are, but
yeah, because you say it's ice dancing.
No my wonder. God, I'm just trolling, bro. I'm just boofing. It's just fun. It's just fun. That's it. But anyways, it looks good. Like you said, it's not traditional. It's not like a traditional team name that you would see, and I like that. It's different. It's fun. And thank God they didn't go with the normal, kind of like neon green and dark blue look that a lot of Seattle teams have had. And it's different, but it still feels Seattle in some ways. And just think about the possibilities of the team name. Just be like, yo, what's cracking? You know what I mean? Like, what's cracking? Guys, you got to love the jokes. Come on. You got to love the jokes.
We know what their fan base is going to be called, the freaking crackheads now.
Well, that's a little far-fetched. We don't even know. But I think this is actually a bigger deal for Seattle because now with a hockey franchise there that could be successful, this could lead to their number one goal, which is getting the Sonics back, which I am 100% on board. I don't care if it's an expansion. I don't care if it's a relocation. Move the Sacramento Kings or something. no one else in Sacramento. Why do you have a sports team? I know Shaquille O'Neal is a part owner or has a stake in them, but I mean, dude, you can make some serious money in Seattle. Seattle fans are dying to see their Sonics back in the Northwest. So you got to do it. And I think the Kraken are a great step to that. And if they're successful, heck yeah, that's super awesome. And now, since I'm not that big of a hockey fan, I can have a team that I won't look like a bandwagon fan. So let's go. Kraken, all in. Let's do it.
What if the Sonics return at the expense of the Suns, David?
Don't even put that energy out. Like, the Suns are going nowhere. The Suns are an established team in the NBA. They've been here since the 70s. So we're not even discussing that at this point.
I mean, the Sonics were quite established until they moved to Oklahoma City. So nobody is safe except for the Celtics and Lakers, really. Anybody
Johnny
could
speak.
go.
Let Johnny talk.
Look, when we kept on seeing all the different rendition predictions for the Seattle franchise, the Kraken was actually a name that a lot of people were thinking of. And the fact that Seattle actually went with that option, it sort of appeases the masses, but it appeases the masses in a good way. It's a great logo. Like you said, David, I'm not really a big fan of the neon green. It's good in bursts, but if it's like your prolonged and primary color, yeah, it screams candy apple to me, and I don't really like candy apple. Okay?
For me, it works for the Seahawks, but if it try to work for a hockey team, I don't know if it would be successful. So I think they went with the right choice.
Yeah, and it goes with the Seattle sort of the boating feel as they did with that video before they released the logo. When you think of Seattle, you think of not only the space needle, but you also think of the fishing industry, the choppy waters. And, with that color scheme, that light bluish with the red, you think of fishing, you think of red lights, you think of that choppy water feel to it. And the Kraken, that really pops. It's not – I was sort of going with the Seattle Pilots, going back to the old baseball days. But, the Seattle Kraken – the Kraken, it really pops out. And, whether or not their fan base is called the Crackheads or Let's Get Kraken, or what did you say yesterday, Cameron?
Yeah, more instead of Let's Go Kraken, it's the chant should be Let's Get Kraken.
Yeah, great idea. A lot of options you can do with this. And, it's a great name. And I think that, honestly, even with the realignment – now, I'm actually surprised, Cameron, that they would be your secondary team. Are you going to say that after the expansion draft and they get, 3 All-Stars from the expansion draft?
They ain't taking any of our young players, so that's all I care about. They can take Jonathan Quick for all I care.
Okay. Cameron likes an expansion team, even though he hated the Golden Knights. I like it, though.
Well, hockey doesn't belong in a city where it's 140 degrees.
What about Arizona?
I'm not a fan of Coyotes either.
Okay. All right.
As long as the Kraken don't take Clayton Keller, we're all good. Okay. That's all I care about. Clayton Keller, Taylor Hall, keep them. That's it.
And go Avalanche. That's all I got.
I guess you can add.
We get the Coyotes. Yeah, we get the Coyotes in 2 years in our division. That's great.
We're going to close the show with the weekend preview. Big day for Premier League as it is decision day on Sunday. 2 spots being fought for by 3 teams: Man United, Chelsea, and Leicester. Johnny, I know you're quivering in your boots over there with your Chelsea. I forget who they're playing, but Man United and Leicester obviously is the game to watch as those 2 are on the cut line. So what's the tiebreaker if it's a draw? So I know they're dead even on points, aren't they? Or is Leicester 1 point back?
As long as Chelsea gets a point, they're in, period. And it just comes down to that match at that point. If Chelsea loses and they both draw, I'm pretty sure both of them get in because their goal differential is better than Chelsea's. I could be wrong, but I know the scenario for Chelsea to get in is either win or Manchester United beats Leicester. I know that. But, look, Cameron, we play Wolverhampton. I am scared to death. Yes, they got 3,000 goals against Liverpool, but they gave up 6,000. I'm very worried about this defense. If N'Golo Kante could come back, that would help out our midfield tremendously. Christian Pulisic didn't start the match against Liverpool, which is actually quite surprising. However, when you dig a little bit deeper, that might be because they're saving him to play the full match against Wolverhampton on Sunday. They should come out full guns a-blazing, come out early, get 2 goals within the first 15 minutes. If they do that, I'll be a little more relaxed. But if it's 0-0 or, God forbid, 1-0 going into the second half in Wolverhampton's favor, We're going to have problems. Monday's show, folks, might be very interesting. That's all I'm going to say about that.
Whatever team takes the most Razor scooters to the shins wins.
Like the New York Red Bulls?
And this, all this chaos was brought on by my beloved Man City being reinstated back into the Premier League. I will never stop talking about it because it's great watching my brother, who is a Man United fan, be on edge, and it's great watching my dear friend Johnny Crane be on edge, as now their clubs are up for debate on whether or not they will reach Champions League next year.
Remember, folks, remember, corruption prevails. Always remember that.
We are going to end this off looking at the main event of tomorrow's UFC Fight Island card, a massive one at middleweight as Robert Whittaker steps up to 185 to take on Darren Till. Huge title eliminator. It's cool to see Whittaker move up because he has had problems when it comes to making weight at 170. Has had some health issues, not really when it comes to just, missing weight, but really he's had some just health issues in general. So it's good to see him. I think he'll be healthy. I think he'll be ready to go take on Till, Till's got all the tools to just be a champion in the UFC. He's got the personality to be, a popular guy as well. He already is pretty much. I mean, his Twitter is absolutely hilarious. It's great stuff. But David, who do you got taking this fight? Because I really don't know who to take.
I'm going to go with Darren Till. I think Whittaker is a very one-dimensional type of fighter. He's a guy who's going to wait, and then every 2 seconds he comes in with a quick 1-2. That's really all he does. He can defend himself on the ground, but he's very easy to read. We saw how easy it was for Israel Adesanya to do it when they fought for the middleweight belt. He's very easy to read. He's very knockout prone. His chin is not as strong as it used to be anymore. And Darren Till's got sweet knockout power. He can put anybody down when he wants to. And like we saw in the Gastelum fight, he has the ability to go a full round. Now, and he's been in a 5-round fight before. He's fought for a title already. Then again, that may have not have been the best decision on the UFC's part, but he has that experience in 5-round fights. He's able to hold his own. And so I'm going to take Till in that one, but how about Alexander Gustafsson? Coming back from when we all thought he was going to retire, he's going to move instead. He's going to be in heavyweight now instead of light heavyweight, and he's fighting for Fabricio Verdum. That should be a co-main in my eyes, but it's going to be stuck on the third spot. But I like
Shogun and Lil Nog going at it.
Yeah, but still, I'm a huge Gustafsson fan. I love what he does. If he wins, I don't know what's going to happen because he might just be taking this fight for a quick money grab and then go back into retirement. But it's super cool to see. But this looks like a great card, and I'm excited to watch it this weekend.
Yeah, I forgot about Gustafsson and Verdum. However, we do need to get through 12 fights before we even get to that because this is a 15-fight card, which I believe is the most fights in the modern quote-unquote era of the UFC. Johnny, you got anything before we wrap this thing up?
Look, I've watched UFC very little. I'm getting into it, okay? However, the fighters I like are the ones that move around and have more than just knockout power. And that's why I'm going to go with Darren Till here. He moves around. He has a little more knockout power. He's a little more three-dimensional than the other fighters. I'm going to go with him. Hey, I'm getting there, okay?
It's actually not a bad take. I actually enjoyed that. That was pretty good.
And sadly, there is no IndyCar F1 this week, but we do have NASCAR truck race tonight, and then they'll do it again Saturday morning, and then the Xfinity Series will close out things Saturday afternoon for racing. That will do it for this episode of The Rich Report. Remember to subscribe to us on YouTube and Apple Podcasts and Spotify. All our subscriptions help. Make sure to check out our recaps, columns, and reviews on our website. I'll leave all our social medias as well in the description. Thanks for watching, and we will see you on Monday. Have a great rest of your day.